Matt syncing audio. 1, 2, 3. All right. All right.
All right. Do you remember?
Josh.
Tim Allen.
Well,
Oh my God.
also,
What's up?
you keep, maybe it's the internet, because you keep every once in a while yours
Uh-huh.
glitches out for a sec, it lags.
Yeah.
So obviously that wouldn't be a problem since you're recording, but
Yeah.
I might lag. But well, whatever. The audio is going to be fine.
The audio's gonna be
But
fine. Yeah. We're each independently recording.
hi, Josh.
What?
It's been a while.
It's been a while. That's a weird place to start off.
Why?
I don't know.
It's okay
What?
to call it out.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
No, it
it's
is
part of
okay
the process. We
yeah.
haven't recorded in a while. What happened? Did we have Christmas? We had a Christmas.
We had a Christmas. You got COVID,
Oh shit! Yeah, I got
and
COVID.
then we didn't come back for a long time.
Yeah, but I think we were both pretty busy. It wasn't
Yeah.
just that, because
No,
it's
yeah.
what? It's Valentine's Day is tomorrow. It's been a while.
It's been 2 months. It's been 2 months since our last episode, which is fine. It just
I got a
takes-
haircut.
yeah. So did I. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got a haircut. We got haircuts
Uh-huh.
on top, and no, I'm not going there.
I didn't down below. I'll be honest. No, I haven't trimmed anything down there in a while. But
I
Mom,
shaved
stop
my
listening.
hobbit feet.
All right. And then welcome to Consume Content, where we help you find the best content to consume. I'm Josh, and this is Matt.
I'm Matt.
Today we'll be discussing the toys that made us and the movies that made us. Available on Netflix, I believe, right now. And remember, if you want to join the discussion...
Ooh.
What?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
If you
go
want to
ahead.
join the discussion, jump in our Discord server. It's called the group chat, and it'll be linked in the description of wherever you're listening or watching this podcast, typically Spotify or YouTube. But I want to go over this documentary series that I think the original is called The Toys That Made Us, and the second one is called The Movies That Made Us. And obviously, one documentary series covers toys, the other covers movies. But I believe each one has about 3 to 4 seasons, and each season is about 2 to 3 episodes. And these are it's a very fun and lighthearted documentary series about toys and movies. And if you're a big movie buff, and if you're a big, you don't have to be a big toy buff or
if you're just buff.
If you're just buff, you might like these documentaries.
If you hit the gym a lot.
If you hit the gym every minute of every day, you're going to love this. Because it sort of, everybody loves like trivia and whatnot. I don't know where I'm going with this. I just love this documentary series because the stories behind these toys and these movies are so interesting. And the Toys That Made Us covers toys like My Little Pony, G.I. Joe, Power Rangers toys. Like, it goes over the history of a lot of He-Man. There's so many interesting stories and like secrets that were like, kept hidden for like, did you know, for an example, I'm going to try not to spoil anything, but leave little like teases.
Wait, how do you spoil a documentary? Are there a lot of plot twists?
Yes, because these things are not well known. The things that it goes over, they have a lot of interviews with people who were there, people who worked at these companies, worked on these movies, right? And it's a lot of it's like personal anecdotes, and it really helps build the narratives around the events that occurred when these toys and movies were made. And it's so interesting. Did you know? It doesn't sound like a big surprise, right? Knowing like corporations and whatnot, but the CEO of Mattel, I believe she was the CEO, one of the founders of Mattel, the lady who brought Barbie to life, right, was essentially...
It was in fact a lady.
It was a lady. She was in fact convicted of like fraud at her company, and then had to resign Mattel. Like, she essentially lost all power over her company. I'm not even like, I don't know what extent it was, but she was like, her name was never to be spoken at Mattel. Like they
She
could
was Voldemort.
basically, because
She was Mattel Voldemort.
she was Mattel Voldemort. That's an interesting name. But like it took decades for her to be brought back into Mattel. And it's so weird. There's so like that's just in the episode about Barbie. The episode about Barbie is so surprising if you know nothing about Barbie. Even if you what's up?
They're not. I mean, it's a documentary series, but it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
It sounds like it's not at all dry. Like they keep it
No.
pretty interesting.
It's not dry. There's infographics. There's a lot of presentation, a lot of interviews. There's a narrator with a cheery voice. It's by
Is he British?
No, but by no means is this like a boring documentary. This is not something. It's not something I fell asleep to. Right? It's not David Attenborough like Planet Earth and whatnot.
Hey.
I'm not saying that's boring. What I'm saying is he has a very soothing tone.
What's wrong with David Addy?
There's nothing wrong with David Addy. All right, David Addy. I'm just saying David Addy puts me to sleep. He calms me down. Right?
He's too comforting.
He takes me to bed. Anyway, it's
Wait, hold on. Wait, no. Wait, tell me more.
he puts me to
Describe
bed.
this.
He puts me to sleep. All right.
He tucks you in. He gives you a little
Tells me about the
hot,
mammals.
warm milk.
Anyway, so this is they're delivering stories about these franchises through the people that were there, right? So the unfortunately they don't get to interview, the lady who started Mattel with her husband, because I think she's passed away. But occasionally they'll be, because these companies are so big and they had so many franchises underneath them, you'll occasionally see people like crossover episodes because they were there for multiple things. So there's one guy who was pivotal in the creation of He-Man, but he appears in the Barbie episode because he was there. He was a VP of marketing at the time when that lady was like convicted of fraud, and he knew exactly what she did. He said, like, the CEO, she claimed that Hot Wheels were being sold. She'd have trucks loaded with Hot Wheels and then sent off to a warehouse and then say that they were sold in order for the books to look good for investors. And then eventually she got caught and the investors got mad, and then that led to legal action, and then she got kicked out of the company. And that was that. But this guy, he tells this part of the story because he was there. But then he's in the He-Man episode because he's the guy who sold He-Man as a concept to the toy stores, to Toys R Us and Toy World. Like he was there on the ground floor, and he worked with the artists to get He-Man off the ground. And that's also like a ridiculous story. Just like how the creation of Battle Cat was just complete bullshit. Like an artist trying to prove the marketing guys wrong, and it ultimately being a success. Like there's so many different stories in this documentary series that are not just like interesting or not just like cool, but they're also like very personal, because the way they interview people, these were like pivotal moments in these people's lives, very important things that these people did. Skeletor was based off a real skeleton.
Wait, well, yeah. What else would he be based on?
No. I don't mean skeletons. I mean a particular skeleton. The artist who drew Skeletor had an experience where he found a dead body as a child, and it haunted him.
So he made Skeletor?
That's what he was trying to think of, the scariest thing he could come up with, and he remembered. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm going to spoil it because this guy. There's so many interesting facts about these toy lines in these movies. the guy who invented he drew all the characters, right? And he argues that he's like the father of He-Man and all that, but he's one of like 3 or 4 guys that all contributed. But
He-Man had a lot of dads.
Yeah, He-Man had a lot of dads. And when he was a child, he went to, I think, an amusement park in Long Beach, California, right? And then there was like this haunted maze that you can go into. And he went in, he was a kid, and the skeleton would pop out towards the end of the maze and scare the ever-living bejesus out of you, right? And he remembers...
Those bejesus.
He remembers, as a child, he looked at that skeleton, it scared the bejesus out of him, and he was confident. He was like, that is a real skeleton. That is not a prop. He knew as a child. And then 20 years later, I believe it was 20 years later, it came out on the news that it was in fact a real skeleton.
What?
It was in fact a real dead body that was used as a prop in a haunted maze at an amusement park for decades. And that's
one way to hide a body.
Yeah. And it was the scariest thing he could think of because it haunted him forever. What?
Did it have like gristle on it, like scraps of meat? Like it's just
Maybe.
All skeletons look the same. It's a skeleton.
Maybe, I don't know. They come up with a dramatic reenactment, right? But he doesn't get too into the details. He just knew, like, as a child, he says he knew that it was a real skeleton, and that's what informed the creation of Skeletor. At least the original iteration of Skeletor before the TV show was made, that made Skeletor like a much more comical character. You know, in the cartoon, he was way funnier than in the original comic. See, you royal boob. Like, it was because the show goes over, the documentary series goes over the people who created it, but then it also goes over its impact culturally with its fans.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so much. I feel like you kind of have to if you're going to keep it interesting. It's like you have to connect to the audience. Otherwise, then it would become more dry. It's just a factual documentary, just like it's a timeline. It's a history class.
Exactly.
But it kind of, because actually I think I might have seen a little bit of one of the episodes. They did an episode on Elf, right?
The movies that made us. They did do an episode on Elf. That one was also pretty interesting.
I think I saw a little bit of that. Like, they were describing how they, at the last second, they decided to change the entire, like, the shot list for all of the North Pole scenes. They decided to make forced perspective work, even though they hadn't planned for it at all.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And which ended up, I mean, I love that movie, and it looks great. It's, I mean, what, are we watching Lord of the Rings here?
Yeah,
but,
it's... that movie had crazy technical difficulties because they wanted... Jon Favreau, directed that movie, and his pitch was that all of the North Pole elements had to be like those old-timey stop-motion Christmas movies. And...
That's right. So maybe I did see this whole episode, but yeah, like, that's how he got the job, from what I remember. Because
he happened to pitch it to somebody who knew exactly what it was going to be, like, who also wanted the exact same thing. Yes, it has to look like this. And if you can make it look like this, we'll give you the money to make it. And I believe that was the case.
It was kismet. And it worked out. They wanted it to be a classic, and it ended up being a classic. But I guess I have seen an episode, and I really did enjoy it. So yeah, I wouldn't mind going back and watching some of these. But I looked up the Wikipedia. I didn't realize the movies that made us is the spin-off. It's the Toys That Made Us was the original show.
Yes.
Because I don't think I've seen any of the Toys That Made Us. But did you watch McMillions?
McMillions? No, is that a documentary?
Yeah.
No, I did not see McMillions.
When you were describing this show, it reminded me of that, which is another kind of dramatized documentary about an event, which I guess this can be movies that made us / toys that made us / McMillions episode.
I guess so.
No, but this is just my comparison because it's what it reminded me of, because it's a documentary about an actual event, something that happened, but they do their best to keep it from getting too dry.
Yeah.
They color it as much as they can. They get like there's actual like FBI agents that were involved in the case, and there's a couple of guys. There's one guy who just like he could talk your ear off. He's super interesting, super out there, but he's just really entertaining. So they interviewed him a ton, and the story was actually pretty interesting. You don't know anything about it? You never watched it?
No, I never seen it. I think I've seen it recommended
It's
to me.
on. I'm pretty sure it's on HBO. I think it was just a 6-episode limited series. Like it was just the one limited run, and then they told the whole story.
Yeah, I think I'll have to check that out then.
Yeah, maybe we should do an episode on that. It was pretty good. I remember it being just one of those big things everyone's talking about for a couple weeks, but then I think it lost a lot of people because it wasn't the most compelling. But if you follow through, it was pretty good. But basically, do you remember growing up in the 90s, McDonald's had the Monopoly sticker like game, the lottery game?
I do remember that.
They had rewards in varying amounts all the way up to $1 million. You could win $1 million. And
no one ever did.
Honestly, yeah, I don't want to give it away, but I guess that's not really the point. It's not a plot twist. It's there was a ton of corruption. It was horribly rigged. There was just, and it wasn't really McDonald's. It was the advertising company that ran this promotion with McDonald's that ended up. But it wasn't even them. It was someone, just a security guy who worked for that company.
I've heard this story. I think I've heard this story without watching the documentary.
But it goes on for like over a decade because they had that promotion. They would happen like once a year or something, like or consistently throughout the years, and then it's just millions of dollars were just stolen, basically because people weren't actually winning the $1 million prize. Yeah,
was it because this guy had access to the safe or something? Like I'll have to watch it. I'll have to watch it.
It's a pretty good watch. I
heard the story before, I think.
Yeah, you can just think of it as an extended one of the episodes from Movies That Made Us or something, but this is the fast food that made us.
The fast food that made us. Another interesting thing about this documentary series, I guess every documentary series is supposed to do this, but, I watch a few documentaries. I don't always get this, right? The historical context of the event in which it's taking place, right? So like, I had an example in mind. Now I can only think about Barbie again, but
you got Barbie on the brain.
Well, apparently, people didn't like Barbie at first, like at all. People hated Barbie, just the concept of Barbie. They thought what's up?
Didn't she like upset the market? Like people just had like the American Girl dolls, not Cabbage Patch. Was that? That's not old enough.
I think that's later,
There were just basic dolls, but then the Barbie doll kind of rewrote the whole playbook on that, right? On toys?
Yes, but this is even before that, right? They do go over, I believe, like the Gillette razor business model, how they ripped that off in order to sell dolls and clothes. But
is that the marketing on like you buy the one doll, but you buy just packs and packs of clothing,
packs of clothing and accessories, and that's the way Barbie did it for decades. But before Barbie was a success, the origin of Barbie is that she's based off of a sex doll.
Oh no.
A quote unquote sex doll. It's actually a little bit more innocent only slightly more innocent than it sounds. Barbie, the original Barbie, is almost a 1-to-1 replica of this German doll that German men would purchase for their girlfriends or their significant others. These dolls wore outfits, and the men would pick out the dolls with the outfit they like, and then they give it to their significant other, and it was a way of telling their significant other that they wanted them to dress like this.
No.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
this is so gross.
It is. That's about as gross as it gets, but Barbie then moves into sort of like more. The creation of Barbie is upsetting. Like, is upsetting to some people, upsetting to in other ways to other people. Like, Barbie has. I don't want to give too much away, but like that's the start. That's the inception of Barbie, right? After that point, after the inception of Barbie, there's like extreme focus tests to figure out how to make Barbie works, right? Hiring a rocket scientist to reverse engineer this doll to build it, and him becoming some sort of like I can't pronounce the word, but just this crazy millionaire in the hills. Like the history of Barbie is long but full of weird incidences, right? And that's just the episode on Barbie. Every toy line that it goes over has similar stories where just weird things happen and weird characters make up the teams of people who made these toys. And then what's up?
Are you going to see the Barbie movie?
I am going to see the Barbie movie. Mainly because now I know so much about Barbie, right? The group of female executives that led Barbie to success through the 80s and 90s were referred to as the Pink Berets because of their business brutality. Like, I'll leave it at that. Like, it's ridiculous. And they do talk about how, like, whenever Barbie was put in the hands of men, they failed. You should watch the show to find out why, because it's also very gross. But this sort of these collection, each episode is sort of like a collection of the most interesting things that made up the history of this thing, on top of how well it connected to people and what it meant to people. And that carries over into the movies that made us, right? So, like, the episode on Die Hard was particularly good. The episode on Elf was particularly good. I'm trying to remember. Home Alone was also an interesting watch, just to learn that Joe Pesci had immense difficulty not cursing in this movie.
Cursing at little Macaulay Culkin.
Exactly. So what he had to do was he had to invent for himself a new curse language where instead of exactly, that's the one. So all that, every time he does that in a movie, that's when he wanted to curse, because cursing felt natural to him to what was happening to his character.
Well, yeah, like a mid-90s, like, super comes from nothing, lower class, working class thief. He's, of course, I'm assuming he's Italian because it's Joe Pesci. Of course, he probably from the East Coast, New York, Boston. Of course, he's gonna, every other word out of his mouth, he's gonna swear.
Yeah, and so he had to come up with a way to curb that, so that way it wouldn't end up in the movie. And God,
I kind of want a dirty version of Home Alone now, an R-rated version.
Well, we'll never get it. But
just this exact same movie, just Joe Pesci gets let loose. He gets to say whatever he wants.
Yeah. I mean, we got a little bit of that in Violent Night, right?
Joe Pesci?
Not Joe Pesci. Just like,
just because it's similar. It's an homage to...
There's an homage to
Home Alone.
Home Alone in Violent Night. But I don't know.
Violent Night was good.
Violent Night was good. Watch that, folks. I'm looking forward to the sequel that they announced.
Yeah.
And what else can I say? Because I can't just keep telling you guys stories.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know. I feel like this is your kryptonite because it's an interesting show, an interesting documentary series, but there's so much detail. I feel like if someone were to take a bet against someone else, that I could keep Josh talking without interrupting him and see how long he could go, they would probably get you started on something like this.
Yeah, it would.
You would go and go, and it would never end.
Keep going forever. The episode on RoboCop was also really good. It's just a great fun.
Well,
what's up?
I mean, what I was kind of wondering was, because when we talk about shows on here, you describe the show overall and you compare it to other works. But this, I feel like it's hard not to delve into the individual episodes and talk about them because there's so much interesting facts. But how do you feel about this show as a show? Like, what can you compare it to?
That's the tough thing. What do I compare it to? There's not a lot of documentary series.
I tried. I compared it to McMillions.
You did compare it to McMillions because, like, you've seen McMillions and you sound this. I have not seen McMillions, so I don't know how to draw that comparison or how to equate that comparison. But
well, what's up? What other documentary series have you seen?
I've seen a lot, and I've like, well, I won't say a lot. There's a few that stand out that, like, I love. But again, these are, like, very entertaining documentaries, right? So there's a documentary called Screwball, and it is about steroids in Major League Baseball. But it focuses on a few specific characters. One character being, what's up?
More like tiny balls, more like shrunk balls.
Oh my god.
It came to me too late.
So, Screwball focuses primarily...
Tiny balls.
Oh my god. Primarily focuses on the doctor, quote-unquote doctor, who prescribed all of the steroids to a bunch of baseball players.
To the Bash Brothers?
Was he around that time? I don't think so. I think this was... the Bash Brothers were... I think they mentioned the Bash Brothers, actually. I don't know if he specifically...
Yeah, that was a whole... Well, I guess I should preface by saying most of what I know about the Bash Bros is from The Lonely Island.
The Lonely Island. But specifically, this guy gave drugs to A-Rod. If you know about... I think A-Rod is one of those few baseball players that sort of, like, transcended baseball because of the scandal, because of his ego.
He transcended baseball.
Transcended baseball. I think he would love that word. A-Rod...
Who's he married to? He married someone famous, right?
He was married to J-Lo.
That's right.
For a while.
J-Lo and A-Rod.
And if you don't know about A-Rod's self-portrait of himself as a centaur, then you'll learn about that in this documentary.
Wait, put it, show it on the screen. You could pull it up and...
I couldn't I? You're absolutely right. Oh, my God.
And then it ends up being a Rickroll.
No. As a...
Which... By the way, I gotta fit some kind of tangent in here. Let me distract you for a sec.
Uh-huh.
Are you aware of Paul Rudd?
Yes, I'm aware of Paul Rudd.
But did you... Apparently... Excuse me. I can't remember if it's with Conan or Jimmy Kimmel or something, but he has a running gag. He comes on to one of the talk shows.
Yeah. Conan. It's specifically Conan.
It's Conan, right?
Yeah.
And every time he comes on, he's
15
pretending to promote some video of his or something he's talking about, and then it's always some clip of some goofy thing, right? Some music video or something. I've never heard of this. I just found out about this recently, probably because I didn't really watch Conan that much.
It was a clip from the movie Mac and Me, which is a ripoff of E.T. And it's specifically a scene where this boy in a wheelchair rolls downhill and falls off a cliff. And lands in a lake, and out from the water comes, like, you see the alien, but you don't see the alien in this clip until after the kid has fallen in the water. Like, the alien doesn't save the kid. Like, the kid falls off the cliff into the water, and then the alien notices him. Oh my god. Okay, so I found the image. It's sort of hard.
Why does he do it?
Oh my god. So I don't know. So it's kind of hard to fucking... I'm trying
show us the centaur.
I'm showing the centaur. I'm gonna show it to the audience first, right? This is the centaur, right?
I can't see it.
I know you can't. Audio listeners, check us out on YouTube to see this or Google it. I'm having a hard time believing like this is the actual one that they showed in the documentary. But if you Google A-Rod as a centaur, there is like multiple versions of this because I'm not sure if people have actually. I'm not sure if there's a photo of the real portrait exists anymore because I tried to go on Sports Illustrated or tried to go on like one of these websites on complex.com and it says like the image is no longer available. It's kind of ridiculous. So let me send you that link real quick.
I mean, I just
chat.
Google imaged it.
Yeah, it's Google image
search.
It's
and
A-Rod as a yeah.
Yeah, I got some. I got some things.
It's weird. Like, ignore the photoshopped ones. Like, it's just fucking weird. And anyway, that's not what that portrait is not what the documentary is about. But they mention it because they sort of have to, right?
How can you avoid it?
How could you avoid it? Now, it's an interesting documentary because of the scandal, because of the name drops, and because of like what was going on, and some of the characters. These are real people trying to give you like their version of events, right? And very few people, if not anybody, is likable in this because either the people involved in this are either morons or corrupt, or I mean, there's a couple of good people in there who are just like, yeah, I tried arresting him, sort of worked out, sort of didn't. Like it's baseball politics on top of drug use and scandal and shady business practices, and then there's a tie-in with the mafia. There's a lot to unpack there, but the best part of the whole documentary series is that all of the dramatic reenactments are played by children.
What do you mean?
So every time there's a dramatic reenactment, right? So there'll be a grown ass man in a chair looking right at the camera, giving his 2 cents, telling like, this is what happened. And then as it recounts it, as it does the flashback, it goes to then a video of reenactment, but with a child with a fake mustache. So these children are reenacting like all of these events as these characters because it's just fucking funnier. It's
Isn't it? Weren't you telling me a long time ago you took like an improv class?
Yeah.
And the funniest you were was you describing a girl fell fell. She tripped and fell on the street, and her face was just off.
Her face was just gone. It's just gone.
Her face fell off.
Like the mother screams, the other person in the scene just like, my daughter, her face, and I'm just the guy on the phone telling 911. It goes, yeah, it's gone. That was it. That was the funniest. This is the funniest I had ever been in front of a live audience, right?
Her face is just gone.
Her face is gone, but it's just funnier because they're kids reenacting. Like they would put the kids in like muscle suits, like fake muscle suits, just for the steroid scenes.
Okay, wait. How old are these kids?
These are like 9-year-olds.
Did they show them like taking drugs? Like
I'm pretty sure they
taking injections.
I'm
like
pretty
a
sure
big fake like stuffed animal needle, a plushy needle.
I'm pretty sure, right? So Screwball, yeah, like I'm looking at it.
Something about this sounds familiar. I feel like I've seen clips of this.
You might have, right? So hold on, I'm pulling up photos right now. So oh my god, okay, this one's even better, right? I'm gonna show the audience first, right? This is what audio listeners get on YouTube, right? These are some child actors as people who work at MLB, right? I'll send you the link to this, Matt, if I could just figure out how. Jesus Christ, message. No, paste. You're not supposed to see this, people. Oh my god. And then
What are you showing?
well, it's just like, my chat history and all that. So I'll blur that maybe in post. It's like it's our chat history specifically. So all those evil things you said to me will be seen by all. But it's so ridiculous. Here, let me show people. Let me show you some other ones. On the far left here.
I do see children.
Yeah.
There's a kid in a suit and tie.
Yeah, on the far left, there's the child who plays A-Rod, and behind him is the portrait of A-Rod as a centaur. Centaur.
What are you looking at?
So you could just type into like Google image search screwball documentary, and you can see all of this. We have to come up with a better way, a better system. This for me showing you things, but it is like they have a kid in a bald cap wearing like a muscle suit, but then the sleeves that he's wearing with the muscles have tattoos on them, and it's just great because it's taking the piss about the whole situation because the whole scandal is ridiculous, right? And it's just hilarious. It's just a funny fucking story, right?
I like it. I like that they got ridiculous with it.
Yeah, it's a lighthearted tale of buffoonery and stupidity and pride and ego. Like, it's so fucking stupid. Everything that happened in real life. These things happen in real life. That's another documentary I recommend. So that would be the documentary that's, I would say, is closest to that. The ones I've seen closest to Toys That Made Us, Movies That Made Us, because it's so lighthearted, and because there's jokes sort of like weaving.
It's
in
not.
between.
It's lighthearted. It's not like goofy like that, right? They don't have kids.
No,
acting.
no. Toys That Made Us and Movies That Made Us isn't that goofy, but it's lighthearted. It is about. It's more wholesome, definitely. Toys That Made Us and Movies That Made Us far more wholesome than Screwball. Right, but like, what else? I just don't see a lot of documentaries made that way, with that type of style. But then another documentary that I do want to talk about, just because I want to talk about it now, is The Battered Bastards of Baseball. Have I told you about that
Buckle
one?
up. What is with the baseball? You got a thing for baseball?
Well, no, it's just here's the thing. I love a sports documentary. I don't watch sports. I don't watch sports.
Why?
Because they're so dramatic. These sports players are so dramatic. Their lives are so dramatic. I just learned
over the top.
So I just learned reading a bit of trivia, right? Because I didn't watch The Last Dance about Michael Jordan, but I should, because I just learned this thing about Michael Jordan, that he was so competitive, right? That he would use any sort of diss against him as fuel in order to push himself to work harder to defeat that other team, right? Which sounds pretty standard. But the step he took further was that he started to invent things. He started to imagine people hating him, like other players beefing with him.
No. You know what you're describing is that scene in Waterboy.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it.
Gatorade.
No, that's actually it. Because that's how it was described to me,
So
right?
You're saying Michael Jordan is Bobby Bushay.
Michael Jordan is Bobby Bushay. Hands down. That's it.
We need to start pulling out just like zingers, just like non sequiturs from our episodes, and this one would be Michael Jordan is Bobby Bushay.
Michael Jordan is Bobby Bushay, and I'll tell you why. Because same way Bobby Bushay had to imagine his opponent across from him to be someone evil in order for him to allow himself to be brutal on the field, Michael Jordan would do much of the same. He would imagine another player on another team said something about him, or maybe there was just a slight bump or something. He would take offense on purpose. What's that?
I can't imagine living like that. Like, I mean, we're not athletes. We're certainly not professional athletes, but can you imagine living your whole life like that? I
don't have to imagine. There's Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant were the two most competitive people in basketball, which is why they pushed themselves so hard.
But to have to, I mean, it's your whole life. If you're a professional athlete, that's your career. Mm-hmm. You spend most of your life, your day, focusing on that. But then to try to delude yourself into believing like those guys, they were cheating. They said nasty things. They've been horrible people. I need to beat them. Aye.
Anyway, that's what I heard about Michael Jordan, because his competitiveness is famous for that reason. And
like these guys, he's well known as one of the best basketball players in history. That's what it took to get him there.
That's what it took to get him here. I'm also trying to wonder,
because you know what I heard about him?
What would you hear about him? His arms extend?
He helped the Looney Tunes defeat the Monstars.
He did help the Looney Tunes defeat the Monstars. And they were evil. Not really. They were evil.
You know, did you see the new Space Jam?
I skimmed through it, and it was.
I haven't seen a minute of it.
It's so horrible. Don't watch it, anybody.
It's
Don't
LeBron.
Watch it. And he's horrible in it. I will say, he's not worse than Michael Jackson. No, Michael Jordan. Right? Very wrong, Jay.
There. Man, quite a comparison. No, also, but anyway. You know what? Sorry, I feel like I have to detract. I gotta throw some zingers in there.
Yeah.
But it just reminds me. You're a fan of Donkey, right?
Yes,
we're both fans of Donkey.
Yes.
I forget which episode it was, which video, but he made a video just bashing on the horrible acting from the NBA games, any of the basketball video games.
He's done that a few times.
I'm sure he has, but and then he shows a bunch of clips, because I don't play any of the sports video games, but they really are so bad.
Yeah, they are.
It's they can't, like, I get you're a professional basketball player. You don't have to worry about, being a good actor, but still.
Yep, that's just the way it is.
Donkey, partner with us. We're promoting you.
We see you, Donkey. We see what you're doing out there.
We see you.
We see
Join us, brother.
Join us. Talk to us about movie trivia. But the Battered Bastards of Baseball, right? Also a very interesting story. It's wholesome, I would say, but not as goofy as Screwball, and maybe not as colorful in style as the toys that made us and the movies that made us.
What about Moneyball?
Moneyball, it's up there with Moneyball. Moneyball's a dramatized movie about events at the Oakland Athletics Club, but Screwball is The Battered Bastards of Baseball, a very similar story actually to Moneyball, but this is not Major League Baseball. This was AAA baseball. Are you familiar with the AAA system?
No, that's not minor league baseball?
That is minor league. That is the minorest league there is. So I think there's major league, then there's single A, double A, and triple A. And I believe this story occurs.
They make great batteries.
Exactly. Actually, that's closer to the truth than you know. Because
am I pissing you off? Like, I can't feel like I keep interrupting you.
No, you're not at all. And I believe this story takes place in the AAA league, because typically what happens is, if you're not familiar, the leagues are all used to develop talent to be moved up to the major leagues. So a lot of major league players had to play through these leagues and rise their way up.
I'm not a huge sports guy, but is it similar to like Premier Leagues and like like European football?
No.
I've seen Ted Lasso, basically. We talked about it.
Have you seen Welcome to Wrexham, which I guess is a documentary series as well?
I wanted to, but no, I haven't seen it.
So the difference with the UK football league, right, is that the whole team can move up in a league, can move up to the next league. right? That is
Oh,
not.
I see.
That's
It's
not the
not.
case.
It's
That's not.
players moving through individual layers of
Yes.
the.
So
Gotcha.
a player can move between leagues throughout their entire career, depending on their performance. But in the UK football or the European football, the whole league moves. The whole team moves into another league. But in America, the MLB, the minor leagues are really just talent farms, and that's all they're supposed to be, right? And these minor leagues, they fill in the smaller cities, right? So like the smaller cities will get the minor league teams, and they'll get games and whatnot, but it won't be the major leagues, and it won't be as exciting. And
I played t-ball when I was like 7 years old. Does that count?
yes, that is
Okay.
quadruple A. And
Also, there's nothing in between. It goes straight from AAA to quadruple A 6-year-olds.
yeah, that's it. But so what happens is Portland loses its team. Major League Baseball pulls out of Portland, Oregon, of course, and there's no team at all, no minor league team, nothing, right? So Kurt Russell's dad, the actor Kurt Russell, his dad, who was also an actor, made his career off of westerns, right? He was died.
He was a cowboy.
He was a cowboy, and he died in like 200 movies and shows or something ridiculous, right? You have to watch the documentary to find out. And Kurt Russell is interviewed in this, and he tells, he's one of the people being interviewed for this, and he talks about his father's baseball team and how he got to play on his dad's baseball team because his dad retired, didn't really know what to do, always loved baseball, and then went and got himself the rights to start a minor league team in Portland, Oregon. And the success of the team was so big, was so good. The team was so good that Major League Baseball saw them as a threat and tried to take them down in a lot of ways. I'm skipping to a major plot point. What's up?
But they don't play in the same league. How are they a threat?
Major League Baseball owns all of the leagues. Right? So it's a corporate monopoly over all of baseball in America. And
so who's threatened by this? It was a AAA team?
No. Yeah, so Kurt Russell's dad started a AAA team where Major League Baseball failed to create a successful team in the minor leagues. So nobody gave a shit about the team that was there before, and nobody went to the games. And then in comes this actor from Hollywood, this retired actor that barely anybody knows, comes into town.
He governated it.
He did. But here's what happens, right? Major League Baseball literally would take major league players and drop them down to the AAA league just to defeat this team, to prevent this team from winning the minor league. And for year after year, they came this close to winning that trophy, but they were never allowed to win by Major League Baseball.
Okay.
And
I feel like we shouldn't get too far into the details, but it seems odd. Well, but I think the point is, I really gotta stop getting you into documentaries. Stop getting you talking about documentaries.
Yeah, I know. There's so
we're not
much.
here to talk about the details, but
there's a lot. Sorry.
I get what you're saying. There's a lot of intrigue. There's a lot more to the story, which I think is a big part of a lot of documentaries. Nobody makes a documentary about something nobody cares about. They seek something out. That's something that some audience might be interested in. And then I think the good documentaries end up showing you, teaching you interesting things you didn't already know.
Yeah.
And that's probably what we're picking at here is there's a series, Toys That Made Us and Movies That Made Us, that you particularly enjoyed. And I think that it's probably just a proven formula. It's just some kind of field, so really anything, some kind of interest with a lot of information, with a lot of history, a lot of people tied to it.
Yeah.
I
What's
have I talked. Okay, Josh. Now it's my turn.
Uh-huh.
Have I told you about glitter?
No. As in the powder?
Oh, you don't know, Josh.
I don't
No,
know.
so a while back, I think I saw it on a TikTok or something, but someone was describing the fact that they came across this article. Let me find it. I'll link it to you. It was an article talking about someone from I think some New York news publisher, not New York Times, maybe something similar, like like medium sized.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. It was just a little like small interest piece, but someone went to this glitter factory. A reporter went to. Oh, it is New York Times. Maybe it is. Well, let me see. Someone went to this glitter factory in New Jersey, which happens to be the largest glitter supplier in the world.
Uh-huh.
And this whole article just goes on to talk about the mystery of glitter. There is so much more to it than anyone has ever known about until they started reading this article. And I I fell into this rabbit hole pretty deep, and I kept telling people I knew about it. I was like, "Here, read this article. Tell me what you think. We need to talk about this."
We need to talk about glitter.
Yeah, it's okay. Tell me what you know about glitter.
I don't know anything about glitter. I assume glitter is just like finely diced, like confetti. Like that's all I'm assuming.
What is it then? What is confetti? How do you define confetti?
I don't know, man. You can tell me anything, and I don't know.
No, okay, but where would you start? Okay, confetti, you think of like those party blowers, those tubes you
Yeah.
pop, and like it's paper, right?
Okay.
The point is it's
Well,
little
I
pieces of
imagine-
color.
I imagine it's plastic, right? Because it's it's highly reflective, right? So it'd have to be some sort
Right.
of like start off as like very thin sheets of mirrored plastic, of like iridescent plastic, right? That's then chopped and then minced and then diced until it becomes confetti, and then that confetti is then taken and diced even further until it's fucking sand. Is the only thing I can imagine.
Okay, well, that's that's the basic idea, but when you really get into it and you start looking into it, it gets much deeper than that. If you want to just talk about the science of it,
Is
it gets
made
a
out of
little just
horses? Is it made
no,
out
no,
of
no.
horses?
Well, I don't know. That's the thing. It could be. No, but I'll tell you just real quick. That's just the boring part of it is, yeah, I'm just skimming the article. It says aluminum metallized polyethylene terephthalate. So, yeah, it's a metallized kind of plastic. It's chopped up really super fine. And then there's just this whole, like, refractory amount of that it contains. Like, glitter is meant to just be able to reflect a certain amount of light, whatever. But the point is, after you just know what glitter is, it's everything else about it. This article is this reporter. She goes and interviews these people at this giant glitter factory, and there's just these certain pieces of information that she admits to inquiring about, but she couldn't get an answer to.
Like what?
I really should find it so I can quote it directly. It's all right here. It's just a long article. I'll link it to you. But it's something like glitter. It's something like 60 to 80% of the glitter, of all the glitter that is manufactured in the world, is bought by a single industry, and we don't know what it is. They would not tell this reporter what it is, but it's a consumer product. It's something that everyone uses, and we don't know what it is still.
And glitter is no, because because the next question, you don't have an answer to it. Is the glitter that's being purchased, is the 80% being purchased by a company that's then putting the glitter into something? but we don't know.
What? We don't know what it is. They wouldn't tell her what it is.
Uh-huh.
Let me try to find it.
Uh-huh. Okay. But why wouldn't they say the name of their customer?
Because the customer refuses to be publicly known. The customer doesn't want anyone to know that they are buying a majority of the world's glitter.
But what
That's the thing.
What do they need the glitter for?
So they're using glitter, and it's got to be a massive industry.
Yeah.
But they don't want anyone to know what it is, that whatever they sell has glitter in it. What? Your thoughts, Josh?
God damn, I didn't think it would be like. This is like, there's such a thing as designed ambiguity, right? So like this, it's not designed. Well, I suppose it is designed ambiguity if the person buying all this fucking glitter doesn't want to be known, but the absence of knowledge, not just the absence of knowledge, but the existence of the question without the answer is what's interesting about this. And it bothers me that there's no answer. It should be like, there should be a simple answer to this.
Okay, well, I mean, there is, but we're just not allowed to know it. Okay, let me quote this one line from the article.
That's the next question, though. Why aren't we allowed to know it?
I know. Okay, let me quote this one line from the article.
Uh-huh.
It's after the reporter is talking to a woman, a representative of this, because she went to this one glitter company, which I think serves as the largest glitter manufacturer in the world. They provide most of the world's glitter. And the company is called GlitterX. So she says, when I asked Miss Dyer if she could tell me which industry served as GlitterX's biggest market, her answer was instant, no, I absolutely know that I can't.
Why?
I don't know. She wouldn't say.
Okay. I'm going to say this. I work in events, right? I'm just going to let everybody know that I work in events. That's why my schedule's so hectic. Right?
Everyone, dox him. Find out what events he does.
You can't. My company signs NDAs, which I'm a part of, right? So for me, I work in events. That should be enough, right? I sign NDAs. That's all you need to know. What have you worked on? I signed an NDA. You can't know that. Like, why can't I know that? Because my clients don't want you. They're not even my clients. My company's clients don't want you to know that, right? Where do you get your stuff from? We ain't telling you, so you can undercut us. Like, I know the reasons, right? Because these are private events. Not all of them are. I can't even say anything beyond that, actually. But it's like,
Josh throws all of Obama's parties, and Obama doesn't want anyone to know.
Where does Obama live? Anyway, he's not over here.
Well, I think he's from Chicago. He must live back there, I would assume.
Maybe.
No. I have a cousin who actually worked at a catering company, and she actually did. Her company did throw a party. I think it was for Obama, or it was one that he was heavily featured as like one of the main guests. Yeah. So she got to meet him, and he was there. And I think it was when he was still president. Yeah. Although, no, he wouldn't just openly attend parties. I don't know. She met Obama, and she was at his party.
I can say for certain I've never done a party for Obama. I can say that. I can't say anything else.
Donald Trump, though.
Nope, not him either. No political figures. I've not.
You don't work at what was it called? Four Seasons Total Landscaping?
No, I don't work there. God, how do you fuck that up? Jesus Christ.
It was his concession speech. Nobody cared.
Oh,
I mean, obviously Trump cared, and like I'm sure plenty of his staff did, but I don't know. I think it was just his farewell. It was karma. It was the ultimate karma.
How do you book a place without going first? Like, never mind. Anyway,
I'm sure, because I think it was basically the equivalent of a PA. It was some intern tasked with just booking it. They had been to the Four Seasons resort, and all they did was not nearly in-depth enough Google search for the phone number. That must have been it.
That must have been it. But anyway, my point is, if you were to go to my company, right? I can't say anything here on the podcast because I'm just an individual, right? Who's an employee. But if you were to go to talk to my company and the people who are in charge there, they would tell you, right? They would tell you that they've done parties in which industries. They won't name specific names, but they'll say, we do parties in this industry and that industry. We're pretty industry agnostic, right? Like they'll say that.
Like private parties?
Private parties I can't say anything. Anyway, it's so like but they'll tell you because they're trying to sell themselves to the next big client, you know? So that way we're known. It's about self-promotion. But here's the thing. 80% of their business is from one person and or company. And so they'll do anything that client says because they get so much fucking money from them. But why? Why doesn't the client want to be known for buying glitter? It has to be going into food or something. Like
that's the speculation I've heard from a lot of people I bring it up to. They're like, what are they doing with it? It's got to be in our food. Who knows?
It's in the Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
They're tracking our poop, and they can tell whose poop is whose by the glitter.
By the glitter.
God. That's also what's so compelling about this to me is whatever it is, how could they be using it? How are they using it on us? It's got to be a consumer-driven industry. But what is it?
What is it? Like 80% of glitter, it has to be expended. It has to be an expendable, so food makes the most sense.
Those were loose figures. But yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me sometimes is with most tasers, like the taser guns that shoot the like electrical leads at people, like the police tasers that they use, the guns. Whenever they fire those, these tiny little scraps of paper with like serial codes on them are fired out with whenever they use the gun. That way at a crime scene, they can tell exactly who fired a charge of their taser because it's like the code is on the little piece of paper or whatever. So I'm thinking something that gets used and needs to be identified, and like glitter is the way to do it. I don't know.
But it's just glitter, right? It's not like glitter with numbers on it.
I know, but I don't know. Maybe some company is coating the entire bottom of the ocean with glitter to have some kind of way to map it. Okay. Like they're just shooting lasers down at the bottom of the ocean and then it's reflecting stuff back on.
Hear me out. Now we know birds aren't real, right?
Wait, hold on. What?
What if?
Okay.
What if fish aren't real either?
God.
What if fish are manufactured and their shiny scales is all glitter?
Maybe that's what makes fish scales glitter. Like, listen, it's all glitter.
It's all glitter.
Maybe that's what we're feeding all the fish in the ocean.
That company's number one customer that takes up 80% of their glitter? Poseidon. Making all the fish.
They make the fish.
That is the worst joke I've ever said.
I'm pretty sure you've said worse.
Shut up, Matt. Shut up. And with that, let's close the episode. Oh, boy.
Let's try and link the glitter article in these
okay.
Wherever these are posted.
Yeah, you sent me the link. I'll link it in the description.
Okay, good. Thank you. I want you to read it too, and we'll talk about it next week.
I don't want to read it. I'm so
No.
It's my
Trust
bedtime.
Me. No, you don't have to read it now. It's a really interesting read.
All right, fine.
Just give it a read.
It's the answers to these questions should be simple, and
And
the
maybe
fact,
they are.
And the fact that there are no answers is what annoys me. And that's what is leading to my intrigue. Like, there should be some... Like, it's such a tease. It goes like, why? We don't know. Why can't you tell me?
Why?
We don't know.
That's probably why I remember this article so well, and why I'm pretty sure other people have had a similar experience. It's like my one concession into conspiracy theories, because it's just glitter. Who cares? But I love to speculate about it. I want to know where the glitter is going.
Also, watch Wormwood. In terms of conspiracy theories,
Oh no,
Wormwood, it's dramatized. There's some good actors in it. You know, it's still a documentary series. It's dark. It's moody. It's about the CIA doing shady shit. Really good. Watch that one too, folks. Right? So, hopefully, we've convinced you to check out The Toys That Made Us and the movies that made us, available on Netflix. Wormwood, Battered Bastards of Baseball, and Screwball, also on Netflix. McMillions. Is it on Netflix? I thought it was on HBO. Well, maybe it's on Netflix.
McMillions is on HBO.
I would double check to make sure Screwball's still on Netflix. I remember at the time when I watched it, it was. But...
Well, actually, sorry, let me interrupt really quick. As of right now, I know there's a lot of controversy. So while you still have your Netflix account, if you still have it right now, maybe check this out. Check this out. I know a lot of people are moving away from Netflix because of this whole password thing.
Yeah. So, get it wherever you can, folks.
Because it might not be Netflix.
Might not be Netflix. Get it wherever you can. Now, if you've enjoyed this podcast, consider following us, mainly on YouTube and Spotify, because that's where we upload the most. And eventually, I'll get on TikTok eventually. But I've recently gone through a social media cleanse where I no longer have any of the apps on my phone. So,
he's gonna get him back by spring. He's gonna have him back.
They're brainwashing me, man. They're brainwashing me. I can't handle it no more.
Already That's what you need to realize. You're already brainwashed.
The birds aren't real, man. They're real. The birds are real.
Stop it.
All right. The birds are real, right? All right. Train derailments in Ohio. There's toxic chemicals everywhere. The chemtrails are real now.
There's Chinese balloons everywhere.
There's Chinese balloons everywhere. It's ridiculous. Anyway, this has been Consume Content, where we help you consume content. We hope you'll consume this content. We hope you've consumed this content if you made it by this point. So we hope... That's a dog! And we'll end it
She
there.
hopes you'll consume this content too.
Goodbye.